Education. Okay, great. Boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have an incredible guest with us today, one who's going to give us some amazing information as well as inspiration, and that is none other than the awarded FOI of the Year, student captain, Brother George Muhammad out of Louisville. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Well, alaikum salam, sir.
This is an honor to have you on the People's Podcast.
It's an honor to be here.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. Well, the first question that we want to know for you, sir, is when did you first hear the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
Yes, sir. First of all, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there's no God but Allah, Muhammad is a messenger. I just want to take time to thank you, Brother Joshua, for allowing me to be on your show. And I just want to say that I'm so proud of you. And you got a lot in store because you're really a trendsetter. And it's beautiful. Two things. I just want to say this real quick. It's so beautiful that you're keeping a record in an archive of our nation. And it's beautiful that you really are leading the pack as a trailblazer by having your own platform doing what you're doing. So I just want to acknowledge you for that, my brother.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you very much, sir.
To answer your question, I first heard the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad when I was 15 years old. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was on a Stop the Killing tour. And so one of the cities that he went to was Louisville. And from my understanding, when he came to Louisville, it didn't do that great, but that's what started the study group here. So what I was 15, and then with the youth, it was like a fad. So everybody started carrying messages of Black Man books, Not Saviors Arrive, going to the mall, hanging out. And believe it or not, my minister, Minister Gerald, we went to the same high school at different times. So every day I would see his picture because he was all-state quarterback. I would see his picture every day at school, in the gym. And then when word got around, with Minister Gerald and his brother named Brother Terrence, they all had joined the nation, and we was young, 15 years old, walking to the mall, and we used to see him driving, and we'd be like, oh, man, that's the Muslim brothers. They was in their trenches and whatnot, and so that just attracted me. So I was a sophomore in high school, and I went to a friend's house, and everybody was talking about the teachers. And you know how you got some, when you're a teenager, you got some of those, they joking and cracking jokes and whatnot. And there was a brother named Brother Chris. And Brother Chris really, at that time, had like the same type of spirit like Minister Nuri. He was firing off the teachers. They was laughing, joking, riding each other out. Brother, they was hitting me. So I went home that next day. When I woke up, I said, man, this thing just hit me hard. So went to school. I started going to the library, looking for different books. And I ran across Malcolm X's Last Speeches. Started reading that. It was heavy, but I just felt like there's something I'm missing. And so about a week or two later, I went to my friend's house named Johnny. And his cousin, Chris, was one that was preaching, left a book called Our Savior Has Arrived. I said, man, can I borrow that? So, man, I read Our Savior Has Arrived. And it was over my head at the time, but it was blowing my mind. And I got about halfway through, Brother wanted his book back. So from there, everything was just sitting in my head. I started studying. There was a brother named Brother Tyrone, now Brother Jihad. He gave me my first Final Call newspaper. This is in 91. I'm telling on my age now. So I believe it's Allah Hates Obesity. And in that Final Call newspaper, that's when young or killed, but Roddy at the time had got shot. So I had read that, not knowing that I would later on join the nation and I would meet brother, So just from there, that's how it all started. About by the time I graduated high school, I had read Message to the Black Man from front to cover, and it got me. So I would start buying the Final Call newspaper. You know, at that time it was every other week. And brother had told me, he started recognizing I was buying the Final Call, and he said, "We got a radio program," and he said, "I want you to check it out." So I did, and the lecture they played was "Has Farrakhan Changed Direction?" I listened to that lecture that morning, went to the mosque that day and joined, and I've been there ever since.
Hey, all praise due to Allah. Yes, sir. Okay, well, Brother Captain, we want to just double back for some clarity. Could you clear the shooting incident for us that you read about?
That's when Captain Akil, I don't remember how the story.
Okay. So that story was in the thing. Okay, Captain Akil. Okay, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Boom. I just want to be clear about. Okay. So he clarifies it in the interview that we did with him on People's Podcast. So everybody go back and watch that. He tells the story. Boom. I know if we're talking about the same story. That's all I want to be clear.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
Great. How did your family and friends feel about you accepting the teaching?
You know, when you first join, everybody sees that change in you, you know, and for me, it did a world of good because ain't nothing changed, but back in the 90s, I mean, that was the goal to be a dope dealer or whatever. And I think a lot for these teachers. My homies, you know, at the time, I mean, we ain't homies now, you know, no bad blood, but it was they wasn't with it. My mother, it was hard for her at first until she seen the change in me. And in '97, that's when the minister was on the tour, you know, through the country. And he stopped through Louisville. And my mother was blessed to sit on the stage to see the minister speak. So I'll praise due to Allah. And that day forward, she always told me that the minister reminds her of her father, which is my grandfather. So she's all for it. You know, my family's all for it. They see the change that I made. But you know, it's always gonna be friction. At the beginning, it was friction, but all praise due to Allah. Here I am. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And people are showing you love. My sisters, Miriam and Naima, both say Ramadan Bar. Got some Lakem family. Brother Carlton says Big Cap. Brother Carlton from Oakland sends the greetings. Thank you, everybody. Please let us know what city you all in on Facebook and on YouTube as well. If everybody who's showing you love. Okay, so Brother Captain, my next question for you is: when you came in, what was the training like?
Well, so I came in '93, and the study group started in '91. So Louisville at the time, I ain't gonna lie, bro, Josh, we was out of the loop, you know. We had some basic training, and that was about it. And at that time period, believe it or not, we didn't have a regional captain. But Thaddeus was the first officer in Chicago. And then later on, that's when the Grand Master came and became the first officer, and then the regional captain. So to answer your question, we had basic training. I remember going to Mosque number 74 in Indianapolis and falling in their FOI class. And from there, that's how we learned how to do an FOI class. Now, if you fast forward a little bit, you would see me down the road, I would start hitting the road and traveling. And what we was doing, we was really on the quest, you know, to be trained and you know, and just learn how it's supposed to be done. But you know, when you have the word and you have the teachings, you know, it's something about that word. When it crack you, I mean, it's gonna make you move. But y'all praise due to Allah. You know, so I would say our training was basic training, and then from there, myself, Brother William, who's in Oakland now, we just started traveling the land. You know, and that's how we did it. You know, you would travel, go to a city, you meet this captain, you meet this brother. He would tell you, you know, how it's done. And then, you know, once the GM came in, you know, we had close contact with him, and that's how we was able to bring the training in.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, what has been your favorite interaction with the Most High Farrakhan?
Oh man. I remember when he came to Louisville, I was a captain then in the 90s. And believe it or not, we were the first city to sell out tickets before he arrived.
Mm.
So a lot. And so I was 22 years old. I was 22 years old. That's when I first met Brother Sadiq, formerly Brother Melvin, Brother Emil, Sultan, Hansa. So I was just mesmerized, you know, how the team moved, your father. And long story short, the minister gets to the city. He sits down with Minister Gerald and he lets him know that the first time he brought the messenger to Boston, he sold out tickets before the messenger arrived. And it was the same amount of tickets that we sold. So long story short, I'm still green now. And so, you know, the minister finishes speaking, he goes up to his suite, and the laborers were invited to a dinner. I'm still a young captain, you know, didn't realize I still got to help with the security and whatnot. So, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little hurt that I wasn't in the meeting with the minister.
Yes, sir.
And so late at night, I was making my rounds in the hotel, and I seen the soldiers guarding the door. They was getting sleepy. So I took the secretaries. I said, man, we're gonna relieve them. Had them relieve. Me and brother, we held posts all night. So I really been up for 24 hours. And I remember it early morning hearing the minister play the violin. And then after that, you know, the minister and the team, you know, moved out and they were on their way to Selma, Alabama. So we get them into the bus. And you know, it's my first time being around in the presence of the Messiah. So I'm standing, and you know how it is, but Josh, man, you know, I mean, if a bullet come, you ready to take it, and you're gonna stop that. All of a sudden, I hear the door of the bus open. Mr. Gerald steps out. He said, "Brother George, minister wants to speak to you." I'm like, oh. So I get on the bus. He gives me this big hug. And so that was enough right there. So I said, well, it's a pleasure meeting you, sir. He said, oh no, brother. Sit down. So I'm like, wow. Well, man, he's so compassionate. He wouldn't look me in my eye. Because he could tell that if he looked me in my eye, I was going to break down, ball out crying. And so, but he laughed and he said, I used to be a captain like you. About 40 years ago when I was a little younger. And we talked, but Brother Josh, what hit me, he never talked to me about being a captain. He talked to me about the world. And he told me I'm about to go on this on my third World Friendship Tour. And he said, I'm not going to stop till I get all my oppressed people. And he gave me some, baby to a lot, gave me some gems. And at the end, he said, and one day you'll be teaching too. So I was getting ready to say, but minister, I do teach every Monday night FOI class, but something told me, man, shut up. So from that point, you know, I started real bad. And it was like from that point when I mounted the rostrum, I spoke clearly. So it was like he blessed me. Yes, sir. So all praise due to Allah.
All praise due to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, sir. Man, that's beautiful. I didn't know about the stutter as well. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Okay. My next question: being in Kentucky and traveling throughout the country, has there ever been a time where you were faced with fear? And if so, how did you overcome that fear?
Man, you know, when you're around the minister, so you ask a question, you know the answer to.
I don't know. Everybody, I don't know.
When you're around the minister, there is no fear. You know, but the only time I would say, to be honest with you, the only time I would say there was a degree of, not fear, but just wondering if something was going to go down was during the Nipsey. the Nipsey
Mm.
funeral.
Mm.
We had so many Bloods, so many Crips, so many factions all in one arena. And those on the outside making mischief on the inside. I wasn't a fear. It was a concern that maybe on this day, you know, hey, it could go down. But to answer your question, so with that, I guess emotion, you just, man, I mean, you fear nothing but Allah, you know, and we know that if ministers on scene, shit, ain't nothing gonna happen. You know, we ain't gonna allow nothing to happen. You know, real talk, man, real talk. And that's what being FOI is about, you know. And as long as we on scene, God's on scene. So at the end of the day, I knew it was gonna be all right. So yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Wonderful. Okay. My next question is, what was the climate like in Louisville leading up to the Million Man March, and how did it personally impact you?
The Million Man March in '95 in Louisville, it took off, you know, a little slow. See, Louisville, it's a slower city. When I say slow, I don't mean mentally slow, just as far as the pace. And slow is not really bad either, because you can be on a fast pace and on a fast pace toward an illusion, or a fast pace to going left instead of going right. So in Louisville, you know, we move just a little slower, but it's like a train. Once we on, we on. But once it caught on, oh man, I mean the spirit was on fire. I remember, you know, when we came back, and I think it was like this in every city, but Josh, when we came back, I mean, we was heroes, you know, for a long time. All praise due to Allah. And you know, the spirit was high. And to this day, I mean, there's a certain set. I'm talking about, you know, of course, it was a lot of Christians that went. To this day, there's still a bond with you know, the Christians, the Muslims that went to the Million Man March. So, you know, all praise due to Allah.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. And thank everyone who continues to show you love in the comments. People are showing you love all across the country. And I can't wait to put this on YouTube. Brother Captain, we have a quick 60-second commercial break for all of the sponsors of the People's Podcast. And I want to thank everyone who continues to sponsor and send your donations, as well as wishing everybody Ramadan Mubarak in this blessed month of holy month of Ramadan. If you would like to be a sponsor or donor, please cash app the People's Podcast is greatly appreciated. My brother Rashad, Street Premier Media Production. He has a 4K camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of those. My sister Miriam, ABC I Love Me children's book and coloring book. She also has a new book release that's in Spanish. Please get those books on Amazon. ABC I Love Me. My sister Naima, Stay On Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, and right here in the studio in Atlanta, Georgia. We love our tiny dancers. Raw Communications. If you're working on a book and you need project management, content development, or media relations, please reach out to Raw Communications. Fashion Guys Urban Streetwear out of St. Louis, Missouri, 314-329-6009. He'll keep you dressed and fresh. Thank you very much. Brother Student Minister Robert L. Muhammad out of Austin, Texas, Squashing the Beef, Conflict Mediation. He does a phenomenal job throughout the Southwest region. His wife is Lafudia Muhammad, Children of the Most High, giving birth to a God in the science of child rearing, out of Austin, Texas as well. Sister Sherry Muhammad, AsiaticMinds.com. She teaches STEM to young kings and queens virtually all across the country, AsiaticMinds.com. Brother Kenneth, bow tie maker extraordinaire. He'll ship bow ties to you anywhere in the nation. Dr. Henry M. Carter, King Henry's Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad, COVID-19 Disinfecting Cleaning Services out of Chicago. My father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharif.com. And last but not least, my two books, Cleopatra, which is a children's book, and No Father, No Excuse, both of which are available on Amazon. Right back to our brother Captain out of Louisville, Kentucky. Boom. Thank you very much. Okay, yes, sir. My next question for you, sir, is trial. What has been your greatest trial, and how have you overcome that in life?
But Josh, my whole life been a trial, man. Well, man, my first trial, my first real trial, in all honesty, was the day that my son was born. He's actually sitting right down there. But yeah, my son was born premature. He was 3 months early. And so my wife at the time, her father had passed away, and she had like a false alarm. And so when he was born, we thought it was a false alarm. And we get to the hospital, they're saying her water broke like yesterday. So we go in and she's 6 centimeters. It might have been a blessing. I'm 24. 24. I didn't know what 6 centimeters meant. All I know is they saying they can't deliver him in this hospital. They had to transport him. And so I remember saying a prayer, brother. And this, there's a prayer that you can do when you like, oh Allah, please, please. You kind of begging. But that wasn't the prayer that I did. The prayer that I did, I knew he was going to make it. And there were those that coming in, they were already grieving before he was born, but I knew that he's going to make it. So that was my praise to Allah. That was my first trial, in the sense where sometimes, your mind is so powerful that, if that's the energy I'm giving off, but then he ain't going to make it, And when he was in the womb, I used to pray, and I used to sing. I can't sing, but I was singing while I was in the womb. And when he was delivered, he was in the incubator, and he just grabbed onto my finger, just held tight. So we formed that bond, then. But the trial then was, he was in ICU for a few months. But to answer your question, Brother Josh, from there, brother, I started going through trial after trial. And my life story, believe it or not, I went through 10 years of trials. Some of them may have been chastised too, who knows? But so I would go through one trial and say, oh, praise you till I got through that. And then another one started. Then another one. This went on for 10 years, brother. And I got to the point where I felt like, man, Allah didn't love me. And then I would read the book of Job. And if you read Job, Job did a whole lot of whining, man. A lot of crying and complaining. That was me. But at a certain point, Allah put an end to that 10 years. Well, what I didn't know, praise be to Allah, what I didn't know, here I am now. And now I'm blessed to train the young brothers. And instead of wondering what they're going through, I can really say, I've been there. And I know what it's like to go to, or whatever it is. I've been through it, And so I had to, Jesus talked about being baptized by the water, but John talked about being baptized by the fire.
Yes, sir.
I went through some fire, man. So, but I thank Allah. I don't want to ever go through that again, But I bear witness trials purify. But at the end of the story, I'll say this. My son, if you ask my son right now, what's his favorite movie, he'll tell you The Pursuit of Happiness. Brother, because that's how we live. And we walk to the movie theater. But at a certain period of time, man, I was blessed to take this teaching and this training and put it to work for myself and live a beautiful life now. I'll pray to Allah. And, so yeah, so, so I'm saying that to those that's watching, that if you go through a trial, trials are ordained, trials will purify, but trust and believe there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I learned that, firsthand. Yes, sir.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Okay, so let's go back to The Pursuit of Happiness. Great movie, you and your son. What advice would you give to people who are going through that type of Pursuit of Happiness trial right now?
Never stop believing in yourself. never stop believing in yourself. You know, that's to me, that's almost like the core of our teaching. You know, you gotta know the guy within. You know, there is in our history, in our nation, in our history, in our personal life, there is a period of struggle and sacrifice. But we were talking about, Joshua, that, you know, Master Fard Muhammad, he came here and promised us luxury,
Yes, sir.
on good homes, friendships in all walks of life. So you got to believe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got to, and you got to surround yourself with those that are like-minded, that believe like you believe. Positive. You got to have positive people around you. No, you don't need no negative people that's trying to tell you, you know, this and that. You can't do this. Put doubt into your dreams. Put doubt in everybody that comes around you. Surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Believe in yourself and keep your eyes on the Messiah. You know, he laid it out in the Swan Song. All he did, man, was testify and laid his life out for us. If we can't get nothing, I'm preaching now. Let me stop.
Yes, sir.
Let me stop. But if you know, if we didn't get anything from that message, then what he did, you know, what he did was in vain, and we know what he does is never in vain. So I just say, brothers and sisters, man, that's watching, you know, believe in yourself and keep your eyes on the honorable Mr. Farrakhan.
Beautiful. All praises. Yes, sir. Excellent. Okay, great. Brother George, we have just a few more questions for you. People are tapping in all across the country, showing you love. My sister's name is all praises to Allah. And thank everyone who's in the comments who always shows love and speaks. Brother George, my next question for you is, what type of music do you like to listen to?
Man, I love hip hop. I love R&B. Music is universal. So I flip through the stations. Hey, if it's rock and hey, if I'm digging it. If vibes right, I'll listen to some rock, country. My son, you know, we took this week to do some bonding, you know. So, you know, he's putting me on, you know, well, I've been put on, you know, NBA Young Boy and Lil Durk. I like, now as far as what's out right now, I like Lil Baby.
Yes, sir. I like Lil Baby. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I want to say this, you know, I remember a lecture the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan did, and he told the fathers, you gotta take time and listen to what your children listen to. And one of the things I do, Brother Joshua, is that, you know, I don't want to be an old time captain, you know, where you just lost out here and you can't relate, you know. So I'm gonna keep my ear to the ground. I'm gonna listen, you know. Now some of that stuff is rough now, but I know what's on their mind, you know. So, but as far as what's out now, I like Lil Baby. I like Lil Baby. So yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Well, Brother George, I just want, before we have our last question, I just want to thank you for always being kind to me and my family.
Yes,
ever since I was younger, I always remember you being a kind brother who was nice and a protective captain, and just someone who was genuine. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
You're alive.
Yes, sir. Okay. Well, no, I have two questions. My next question is, being around celebrities, in executive protection and doing this type of thing, do you have any favorite story that you want to share?
Oh man, my favorite story is always the minister.
Besides the minister, besides the minister.
Well, there's one. I mean, but the minister's involved in it.
That's fine.
Oh, I remember the hip hop summit, the very first hip hop summit, and you know, the minister had spoke, and of course, you know, everybody was in line, you know, at the minister's suite to see him, and you know, when you in that mode, because you know, I admire God-given talent. You know, if it's in the form of singing or rapping or drawing. So, you know, but when you're around the Messiah, you don't get starstruck. But to me, what was very memorable was, I remember LL Cool J was there, Queen Latifah, Fat Joe, but they were all, Diddy, they were all fighting in a sense. They were all trying to cut line, to get to the minister, And so to me, that's what stands out. But the funny thing was Fat Joe, he was like, it was real warm up there. And he was like, yo, does the minister believe in air conditioning? But just that personal side, and just to see the love and respect, that they have for the Messiah, man, it's mind blowing to me.
Beautiful. Yes, yes, sir. My last question for you is, what do you want your legacy to be, sir?
That's a heck of a question. In all honesty, Brother Josh, I really believe my mission hasn't even started. I said earlier that when the minister had first time he talked to me, he was talking about the world. And, we're approaching a heck of an hour because, the minister's getting ready to depart, return to his Father, and then return to us. And so I really want to play a part. Paul was the one responsible for bringing the word of Jesus to the world.
That's right.
I want to play a part in testifying to the world that the Messiah was here and the Messiah will be returning. And I always have been intrigued in the Revelation where it talks about the 144,000. But if you go a few verses later, it's the multitudes. We the 144,000 in the Nation of Islam. We're the vanguards. But the whole world, when the whole world is kissing that Kaaba, the black stone, the whole world's kissing the black man and black woman in North America. And I just want to play a part in just spreading the message to the world and one day, putting deals together, international trade, for our people here, in the nation. So I want my legacy to be, not just captain, but a brother who played a part in fulfilling the Honorable Mr. Farrakhan's words and taking his word to every nook and cranny. So that's what I want my legacy to be. All praise
to Allah. And thank you everyone who's showing love. Brother Captain Deshane says Assalamu alaikum, and Sister Mariah says Assalamu alaikum. Sister Mariah, I think it's her first time watching, but welcome salam, Sister Mariah. Ramadan Mubarak to everybody who's watching. And Brother Captain, once again, I want to thank you for coming on the People's Podcast. And please let your son know that we are rooting for him, sending positive energy, and that he is at a wonderful school, and I'm living vicariously through him because he's been able to finish what I intended to start there, but I'm finishing it here in Atlanta. But I'm rooting for him. That's a wonderful school, and may Allah bless him to win and graduate and finish. Man, that's the first school that I got the acceptance letter to my home and about going to it. That was the first one, so I'm happy for him.
Yes, sir. I definitely relate the message.
Yes, sir. Well, this is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Well, alaikum salam.
Thank everyone watching again. All right, here we go.